Welcome, everybody. This is the Life Enthusiast online radio, TV, and blab network. I'm Scott Patton, and joining us as usual is Martin Patella, life coach at Life Enthusiast, health coach at Life Enthusiast. Hey, Martin, how are you doing?
Hey, hi, everybody. This is Martin, and just in case you're having trouble with Scott, he is in Belize, and apparently
Yes.
the internet connection is not as good as it might have been or should have been. It just is a bit sketchy. So sometimes we...
Yep. I'm actually in the farthest south. I'm as far south as you can go in Belize. And this is a small community, Punta Gorda, of about 20,000 people. Most of the roads are gravel. And in fact, you can just see there's the road. And yeah, it's pretty exciting. I'm looking forward to talking a little bit about some of the things that I've discovered here. But before we get to that, Martin, we want to talk about the industrial food complex.
That's my topic today. It kind of dovetails with what you're doing. And I'd like to remind all of us that today we're eating, or we're able to buy foods that are cheaper than they ever have been. And we're getting exactly what we're paying for. Not much. Or what we're paying for it is what I meant to say. Because what's going on with us is the following. In about the 1920s and 30s, we kicked off the Industrial Revolution in agriculture. Back in 1900, 30% of Americans were farmers. Right now, I think it's 1.5% to 2% of the population that are farmers, and they're more than able to feed every one of us with huge quantities to spare for export. What that is a wonderful thing, the revolution of productivity, but along with it came destruction of food values, of nutritional values of the food. Actually, interesting, I noticed that less than 2% of the soil of the area, I should say, how do I say this? 2% of the fields are organic. 98% are not.
That's not very good news.
No. The organic food movement isn't even getting a foothold. It's just very tiny by comparison. So this is going to be a general promotion for please buy organic. Please support the organic farmer, because if we don't, we're headed into some difficult times.
Well, and maybe we're already in those difficult times. You've got the whole global warming thing going on, and climate's being crazy, and then you have the obesity, and you have all the diseases that are chronic that people are suffering from. Right.
That is indeed, with the rise of the industrial agriculture come the rise of the industrial disease. The heart disease and the cancer, and now the epidemic of the chronic inflammatory, which is the fibromyalgia, multiple sclerosis, infertility, and other female problems that lead to hysterectomies and who knows what else, PMS, and I don't know all the symptoms because I can't quite relate, but they're there. I can relate to mine, and I tell you, I've had a good load of the industrial food disease myself.
Right. So it's time to change that. So what can we do?
Well, I mean, we could all become farmers and start planting our own gardens in our own little lots, right? Like we could plant cabbages, carrots, and potatoes or whatever else we want in our backyards instead of whatever else we do there.
So a little bit of a change in lifestyle is required, right? Because right now, usually if it's a two-parent home, both parents don't come home until 5 or 6 o'clock at night, and then they've got to make dinner. There's no time, right? but also it's about planning, right? I mean, and I think there is time. Like, I think if you sacrificed watching the hockey game every night of the week, if you sacrificed a couple hours of soap operas, if you involve the children in it as well. Like when you come home from school, you go weed the garden for 20 minutes and then you go in and you do your homework. I think a lot of it has to do with the systems that we set up, which are all set up to waste our time to the point that we don't have any time to be able to do the things that are really important, and we don't appreciate them as being important when they actually are. And where I am in Belize, I'm visiting Umida Swiplow, who is renting this house. And the first thing that she did when she got here was I can actually show you, is she got one of the fellows here that is helping her to dig up part of the lawn. I'm not sure if you can see it. So underneath,
we're looking at some palm fronds.
Yep. And so underneath them is dirt, and in the dirt are seeds. And she's growing all sorts of vegetables. And the whole thing took like an hour. I was amazed, right? I thought, this is going to take a long time. But the young man just got in there, dug it all up. They put the seeds in, and then they're watering it. And those palm fronds keep the heat off so that you don't boil the seeds. So in a few months, she's going to have a whole pile of fresh fruits, fresh vegetables growing there. And the interesting thing, what's that?
It'll be weeks, not months.
Weeks, yeah. And as we walk around, we see a guava tree, we see a lime tree, we see avocado trees, we see coconut trees. I mean, it's so weird, right? Because I love drinking coconut water, and I'm used to going to the store and buying coconut water. So here, I say to somebody, I like some coconut water. They climb up a tree, have a machete, they bang it, drop the coconut down, smack it open, and they either pour it into a glass for me or they give me the coconut with a straw. Now, I mean, obviously we can't have coconut water off of trees in Vernon when you've got 3 feet of snow going on, or Vancouver or Canada or some of the northern parts of the United States. But there are different, I particularly think about the southern states in California, where why don't they have orange trees in everyone's yard, or a lime tree or a grapefruit tree? I remember being in Palm Springs walking around, and there was like massive numbers of oranges and limes and lemons and grapefruits on all these trees, to the point where the people could not eat them, right? Which just meant that if everybody was doing this, pull them all down, take them to your local grocer or whatever. I mean, work on a system so that you can get that food out to people. And so I think that there's a lot of missed opportunities when it comes to just doing a little bit ourselves. I mean, it's really amazing. This is the other thing, and Amita mentioned this, because we went to a little restaurant and we ordered a lunch, and then we also ordered coconut water. And she says, this isn't coming out of, it's not coming out of a can or a bottle or any, paper bag package thing that they've got. This comes out of a real coconut that somebody went either today and yesterday and got. And I go, yeah. And then she said something really interesting to me, and I think this is the root of a lot of our problem. She said, do you notice that it tastes different than the coconut water you had yesterday? And I said, yeah, it does. Well, every coconut is an individual coconut, and it's going to have a slightly different, the water is going to be slightly different, the meat's going to be slightly different. And we've gone into this homogenized society where when you go to McDonald's in New York or you go to McDonald's in Tokyo, it's the same. And for some weird reason, we take great pride in that. And I can remember one of my buddies when I was growing up, we were about 17, 18, his dad had a burger joint, and it was the only one. And I came over one day and he says, yeah, I'm going to cook you a burger, Scott. And he cooked this magnificent burger the way they would never cook a burger normally. Like, he slow cooked it. I mean, it took 10 or 15 minutes for this burger to be just right? As opposed to like 30 seconds on one side, 30 seconds on the other side, slap the stuff on and send it off you go, right? But it occurs to me that we we seem to have this fear of something not being quite the same, like to the point of being exactly the same as
Well,
what we had last time.
there's something useful in it because you have the predictability. So a chain of restaurants is, of course, loving it because you can trust what's happened in Tokyo is going to also happen in New York, which is the predictability of it. Of course, life should be a little less predictable, I think.
Yes,
I have a memory. I have a memory I'd like to share, which has, like when I was a young man, 17, 18, just like you, I was visiting with my girlfriend, and in her place, they actually had chickens in the yard.
There are chickens here.
Yeah, okay. But so it was the funniest thing that her mother was saying, well, whatever we don't eat, if it's proteiny, it goes to the dog. And if it's vegetably, it goes to the chickens.
Nice.
And so in that far corner of the yard, there was a chicken coop and a I don't know what. It wasn't huge, but enough area for the chickens. And they would throw them everything, the scraps from the table and scraps from whatever. So all the cut off cucumbers and all the cut off tomatoes and whatever else, the chickens were eating it and they were turning it into eggs. Holy Moses. I mean, how good is that?
Yeah, we sometimes forget that Mother Nature has provided us with garbage collectors. And actually, we went down to the market, like we're right on the ocean, on the Caribbean Sea here. And when you go down, the road along the water has a market 2 or 3 mornings a day, a week. And beside the market is a fish market. And if you go in the fish market and you look out the back, that's where the fishermen take and they cut up all the fish or whatever. And sure enough, there are these like vulture type creatures, and there's not really seagulls. Pelicans is what we saw today. They're just hanging around waiting for whatever gets thrown into the water, and they're just going to eat it, right? And what was funny about today is there's this big tree and this branch that's pretty horizontal, and there's 2 huge pelicans sitting on this branch. Well, they don't have the claws to grab onto the branch because they got webbed feet, right? Yep. And so these vulture type creatures, birds, flew up, 2 of them, and landed beside the pelicans. Well, the thing bounces and the 2 pelicans, or they just about fall off, and they're sitting there, and then the pelicans are stable, and then another bird comes up, lands on there, and the pelican almost falls over, and then one takes off and another one lands. And I was like, well, I was watching it for about 10 minutes, right? It was so funny. I said, are those birds trying to knock the pelicans off the perch or what? And, yeah, it's really kind of interesting being out of.
There's so much life and nature in there. Well, you're practically in a rural area then, right?
I am. 22,000 people here, and we spent most of the time outside of the town in the last couple of days with the Turmeric project that we're working on.
Well, let's mention something about that. What's going on with it?
Well, what happened was Amita Switlow came here as a volunteer with CUSO, working with the Belizean government and the Canadian government, looking for opportunities for youth in business. So businesses that they could start up or that they could be a part of in order to help with the unemployment. About 70% of the people in Belize, and there's only like 400,000 people here, it's a small country, but about 75% of them or 80% of them are under 29. So they're all very young, they're all having lots of children, and they don't have any work. So they're like, what can we do? And we thought, well, the interesting thing about turmeric is it's kind of like a weed, and in that it grows and you don't do anything, right? So if you let the weeds, it just kind of takes over. And turmeric doesn't take over because nothing can take over in the jungles here. The jungle takes over, but it grows everywhere and you don't have to fertilize it. It doesn't take any herbicides, doesn't take anything. And it came here with the East Indians who came here as indentured slaves 200 or 300 years ago. And they brought a specific type of turmeric with them, which when you look for the curcumin levels, it is normally around 3.5%. It's 6.5 to 7% with this variety. And so we went out to one of the farms and, they They whack and they hack. They get rid of the leafy stuff and then anything else that's over top. And then they just take a spade, like a fork, and they just loosen the ground up and they pull out all of this turmeric. So she uses the local. It's a root, like ginger. It's called yellow ginger, and so there's no herbicides, no pesticides, no anything. Well, nowhere around here do they do any of that. They can't afford it, so it's pretty fresh. It's nice that way. And then she wants to. What she does, she makes a paste with Himalayan salt or sea salt, and coconut oil that's from the coconuts here, and lime juice from the limes here. So we were looking at like, where are we going to get all these limes that we need? And we drove out into one of the Mayan villages, and with the farmer, because he was saying, "Oh, go here, go here." I mean, we're just going on like barely 2 tracks of through the forest, right? And we come across these beautiful Mayan homes. They've got the thatched roofs. There's a dirt floor, but I mean, it's a hard packed dirt floor, and they keep it just very, very nice. And we talked to one of the Mayan ladies. Do you have limes? Yep. And she took us behind. There was this huge lime tree, and of course, I'm there and I've got this big stick and I'm poking the limes, trying to get them down. And after about 20 minutes, 30 minutes, we had 240 limes off this tree. And that's about it. It's in the middle of the jungle somewhere. More than enough. I mean, they get more than enough for themselves. They probably take it to the market. And we just said, okay, we want to buy your limes. And if you have any friends that have limes, we want to buy their limes too. And we're only, 3 minutes down the road where the farm is. And we've got a facility where we're going to be manufacturing it and all the rest of it. So organic, I don't know if it would be Canadian certified organic, because there's nobody here looking and certifying anything. But it's called wild crafted. Yes, that's right. Wild crafted limes. I mean, wild crafted coconut oil and wild crafted turmeric. And so she just makes this paste. It's beautiful, and we're going to be exporting it to Canada, so that Canadians have an opportunity to get the health benefits of turmeric, hopefully into the United States as well. And so let me give the plug for the company's name, Naledo.com, Naledo.com, and there's a couple kind of organic grocery chains in Vancouver that have already given us some orders. That's where we're going to start, and then we're going to grow it across Canada.
I'm just looking at a comment from one of the viewers here, which is just spectacular. It says, maybe I can't tell, an organic banana should be called banana. Everything else should be called non-organic industrial.
Exactly.
Right? Like same linguistic nonsense that we have with alternative health, right? Like, I'm having to declare myself an alternative health practitioner when in fact I'm the one that's the natural, the non-industrial, the non-chemical, the non-whatever. I'm not waging the war on the body. I'm supporting it to get well. Okay, so something funny going on with Scott. So the reason I'm having
the local children just went on the back of a pickup truck by me. If I'd have been fast enough, I would have turned around so you could have seen. So no seat belts. Just like when I was young.
The beauties of developing world.
That's right. So let's hope they don't develop too much.
Well, here's the crazy thing. There are such wonderful advantages of having a fully developed industrial society, but some of these things we have screwed up tremendously. And the thing that I believe we have screwed up badly is the food production.
Yeah.
Which is this. I have seen a study that shows that the mineral content of our vegetables has been declining. It's by 1937, when the first report came out, they were complaining that they were down 70%. that they lost 2/3 of the original mineral content. Well, since then, we have lost 2/3 again. So we're now down to maybe 25% of 24%. I can't do the math in my head of the original mineralization that was available in the foods. So what goes in our lives now is we're eating food, but we're not getting the nutrients that we're supposed to be getting. With organic foods, and especially biodynamic foods, we have a chance of having the nutrients that we require. But if we're eating broccoli that's been grown the industrial way, it looks beautiful, but it's hollow food. And it bothers me. And it bothers me for the following reason. The fertilized soil is losing the natural microbes, and it's losing the humic and fulvic acid content. So there's less and less of the goodness left in the fields. And I don't know how many more generations it's going to take before the foods are actually not going to be able to grow.
Yeah, I think that it'll always be able to grow because they can force it with the chemicals that they give it. But when we're not going to be growing because it's not going to be having any impact in our development as we grow and as in our health. I think that's going to be the big problem, and I think that's what we're seeing.
Mm-hmm. I'm just corresponding here with one of the viewers. He says here, let's talk about why vegetables have lost their minimal content. Do you know why? I know why.
Why?
Where's the goodness going? So I'm saying, well, okay, you tell us. I don't know. Do we want to bring them? Whoever you are.
If he wants to
there,
join us, sure. Rent the chicken. Come on, join us.
Anyway,
here he comes.
The whole point. Okay, the whole point of that. Oh yeah, somebody's coming on. Lovely. Hi, Mr. Chicken.
Yes, hello. I'm Homestead Phil.
Hi, Phil.
Hello. Okay, so we talked about the nutrients. Let's just think about this. You got a farmer out there in the field. He plants I don't care what it is, carrots, anything. Right? That farmer does a mass production. Right? Harvests that crop. Where does that crop go? That crop. Right? Where do those nutrients go out?
Well, they've gone away. They go into the poopster. Toilet.
System that's already there. So what you've done is you've created a one-way highway of all these nutrients leaving, and then being disposed of at the city, sometimes hundreds of miles
or thousands
of miles. I mean, here in Western Pennsylvania, yeah, we get stuff from all the time, and there's no way to get those nutrients back, and that's why you turn around and you have farmers spraying chemicals on. That's why you see fewer and fewer nutrients content.
Right. Well, the whole point was that the NPK, the nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium fertilizer is pushed onto the field. Those are the minerals that cause it to grow quickly, but there's not enough time for it to grow strong and rich, and it certainly is. Well, it's looking good, but it's hollow on the inside.
Right. Well, there's no natural time by nature. Now, if the cities were to be able to collect that waste and turn around and ship it back to the farm and then use that, create a circle and get those nutrients back, but we all know that more than just waste goes into a toilet in a city. But a reduction of quality of food in just one aspect.
It reminds me of the China study,
our
which is a
food
very
system.
popular book that documented how healthy the rural Chinese population was compared to the Americans. And one of the big things with the Chinese farmers is that they use all of their excrement and haul it back to the field.
Exactly. That's that. That's why they'll plant a good heirloom variety of feed for their cattle on something that, and they let distribute waste throughout a good organic farm. There's a book that I recently read from a man named Harry Stoddard. It's called all sorts of farming techniques that he uses, just no-till farming to help preserve the soil content. That's where I am, and you see these farmers' fields. They'll till and they'll be bare for 6-8 weeks, and depending on how long it's topsoil.
That's right. Yeah, if it dries out
over it.
If it dries out,
or
it
the
just
rain wash.
blows off into the wind, and off it goes.
I see that all the times. When I was growing up in Winnipeg, we'd have all of Saskatchewan would just come over, and land on us. And it was just like, oh my God, like look at all of this dust that's just being blown, which is not really dust. It's topsoil, like you were saying. And it's massive.
Yeah, bad method.
Yes.
All right.
Definitely. So.
Okay.
So
how do we turn it into something practical for the people who are actually living in the cities? This is a trend that's going to be hard to resist anyway. Urbanization, modern lifestyles. What do we tell them to do? And my take on that is go raw. Eat as much raw food as possible, and especially eat that organic, because we need to push on the industry. We need to cause them to change. The most important point I want to make is this: the money in my wallet pushes what happens on the other side of the equation. When the money is like the oxygen of the economy. So wherever you direct it, that's where stuff grows or prospers. And from wherever you withdraw it, that's where it just goes away and dies. So when we want to have more of something, that's what we have to buy. And when we want to have less of something, that's where we need to not buy. And so this is my recommendation: to do the most revolutionary act, to shop at the right place.
Sure, buy local. I mean, we is rent the chicken. We provide people chicken coops and chickens in their backyards. They get farm fresh eggs without a commitment at the end. But the idea is to have that food source closer to the table. I mean, people these days aren't going to raise a couple chickens. They're not going to raise a cow in their backyard, but you can raise a couple chickens. Our garden, my garden every year is about 25 foot by 20 of spaghetti sauce, more than 40 pints of salsa, more than 30 jars of corn, 105 foot by 25 foot.
That's great.
Most people, they don't realize that. It doesn't take a lot of space.
Yeah. What climate are you in?
Difference. And then I think this is zone 6 6 or something like that. I can't remember. I start planting on May 1st. That's when everything gets transplanted into the gardens. May happens. We got about 6 inches of snow right now, so I figure right around March 10th,
Okay.
March
Yeah, we can't put
15th,
anything out where I live
potatoes
until
will
May
go on the ground.
24.
So you are
Yeah, yeah.
up north in Canada.
I mean,
then, huh?
well, I live up there, but right now I'm in Belize, so
Gotcha.
it's there's no snow. Yeah, it's a lovely place. The other part of this conversation that I think always gets forgotten is systems, right? And the one that, since we're talking about poop, you know, it goes someplace and something happens to it, and it just disappears out of sight, out of mind. And where my parents live, where my mom lives in Victoria on Vancouver Island, they basically just ship it right out into the ocean, and Seattle's complaining about it, and so they're looking at making this big, huge thing, right? And they've had studies of this and studies of that. My dad used to say there's like 10 billion fish poop every day in the ocean. Doesn't seem to be a problem. I don't know why 300,000 people is a problem, but the point is that that's, again, if it's being, made in Ecuador, made in Honduras, made on the prairies, and it's just going out into the ocean, how is that going back? And so I think that, I think we need to look at the system and say, well, how can we compost this poop? Like maybe we should be doing something and then turning it into blocks and shipping it out to Saskatchewan or Idaho or someplace, putting it out in the field, let the rain hit it and have it spread, or whatever, and it goes back. But to me, it's like we have these systems that don't help. If you have a system that works, then it's going to support you. The other system that we have is we give a lot of farmers a lot of money to buy herbicides and pesticides and certain types of seeds that we don't want. So why are we subsidizing those guys and we're not subsidizing the organic guys?
That's a political issue. That's a political issue.
Sure, it's.
But hey, Scott,
political.
There was a story out a few years ago about a town in Florida that installed a sewer system that previously they didn't have. They were just shipping all of the poop straight to the ocean. And about a mile out, there was a thriving coral reef, just rich, full of life. They installed that sewage treatment plant, and that entire coral reef died. It just totally starved.
Yeah. Pasteurized poop is no
big
good
business
to anybody.
will never.
So the chicken poop.
Big business is never going to. Yeah, chicken poop's great, but big business is never going to let you take human manure and reuse. Big business is making tons of money off of chemicals, so they're going to want to keep supplying those chemicals. And you're also going to find that using humans, I know, is illegal everywhere. It's just not legal to do, so you're not going to see that. The beauty about chickens is when we deliver 35 locations throughout the United States and Canada, started right here in Western Pennsylvania with myself and my wife. We can deliver to Toronto. We can't deliver to Winnipeg, but we can deliver. And one thing that people always ask, they ask two questions. They're worried about noise, and hens can lay an egg without a rooster. So you're not going to have 2 hens. And 2 or 4 hens, you don't have to worry about smell with a portable coop. And 2 to 4 hens will produce. Neighbor doesn't clean up after his dog. You have the ability to scoop up that manure every day because the coop is movable very easily, or you can let it soak into your grass. It's going to act as a natural fertilizer because there's not a lot of chickens. It's not going to kill it from all the. Just use a hose and hose it down. So, I mean, chickens are really great for for adding a
And the eggs are
natural
good
source
too,
of
right?
compost. Oh, the eggs are amazing. What you know, what makes the eggs amazing is that they're not full of junk. You know,
Yeah.
they use antibiotics, they use all this stuff. You know, we use antibiotics very sparingly. In other words, that chicken has to express to me that it is sick, and it is a chicken will get it, and it's not going to be the entire flock. It's just going to be the ones that need it, if that's needed. So, and once they get out to people's homes,
It's good. Well, it's a great advertisement for Rent the Chicken. It's exactly the sort of revolutionary activity we need. In fact, the revolutionary act: become a farmer, right? Grow your own food, grow your own organic.
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I dropped off a chicken coop, and then at the end of and all of a sudden I see some raised garden beds. I'm like, hey, those weren't there when I dropped off the chickens, but all of a sudden they're like, you know, we got these chickens, we got to thinking, might as well plant some kale. So I planted some kale, and I've been feeding it to them, and some herbs, and by the next year, we've made a direct, because as you know, it's not something that's going to come down from the big corporations. It's not something that the government is going to change, because you know those elected officials. I'm doing my part at starting down
the
low,
grassroots,
and just starting with the
great
individual.
So
one family at a time.
Maytar wanted to join us. Sorry, I just didn't want to interrupt the Rent a Chicken rant, but if you want to join us, I'll let you on now. You were just on such a good roll, and I didn't want to stop you, right? So, and I'm assuming rentthechicken.com is your website.
Yes, rentthechicken.com. We're also on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. And
well, you know, I was thinking about that. You know, if you have kids and they're in that 4 to 8 range, they probably become very attached to the chickens. Now.
Yes. Oh, and the other, and they're going to say the grocery store. So it's education as well.
Right on. Okay. So, Scott, you're going to bring somebody on?
So, all right, guys. My chickens and make sure nobody's fried it.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.
Take care. All right, thank you.
Maytar was sort of trying to get on, and I didn't let her on. And now she's still, I don't know if she's still listening or not, but if she wants to join us, we got an open seat. This is the Life Enthusiast Health Blab. He's Martin, I'm Scott. He's up in Canada, I'm down in Belize. He's cold and freezing. I'm warm and sunny with a little bit of a sunburn. Not really 100% true, but I got to rub it in a little bit. So, Martin, we want to talk a little bit more about the industrial revolution that occurred in our food stuff, or do you think we've covered it? Well, let's talk a little bit about fulvic acid.
I would like to raise the two main issues, which is the humic and fulvic acids that we are not getting with the food that we should be getting. So we now have it available as a supplement. So people think and get that. Put that in your diet. Put humic and fulvic acid in your diet, and put products that use that into your diet. And get the superfoods such as the Exala, Advancium, or Zoetine or something like that into your diet, where you're able to get the nutrients that are lacking in your salad back into it. Like what I do is when I have my salad, I actually throw a scoop of the green superfood on it just to spike it, to give it some intensity, because I'm just not getting the nutrient density that I require.
So for those of us that don't know, what is fulvic acid and what's humic acid?
Okay, humic acid got its name from humus, which is the stuff that makes the difference between beach sand and fertile soil.
Makes
It's
it black.
that black stuff. That's the black stuff that's in the soil.
Okay.
And there are resources all across the planet in various places in the world where millions years ago, when this organic matter could have turned either into petroleum or into coal, or if the bacteria processed it into this rich humus. So we have this dried source that we can extract, and it's we have it available in bags, dried powder, and it can also be.
What does it do?
Well, when it's added to the digestive system, it helps the immune system lower the effects of viral and bacterial infections. People who supplement with the humic acid have become free of their viral infections. Name them all, from the immunodeficiency virus to the Epstein-Barr to the herpes, all of those. And it also helps to maintain it. People who are trying to, weightlifters, no, I should say the bodybuilders.
Yep.
They use humic acid to improve definition. Like it's their it's the secret trick to turn fat into muscle.
So it's an important part of our bodies working properly, and we're not getting it.
That's a fact. And the fulvic acid, those are the smaller particles, smaller molecules. They actually get inside the cells, and they're really good at removing cytotoxicity, meaning that it's like a broom that sweeps clean the space inside of your cell and gives more space to the metabolic activities of the mitochondria. I guess in plain language, it's like sweeping the cobwebs, no, not cobwebs, sweeping the black dirt out of your fireplace, helping it to burn clean again.
Okay. All right. And we're not getting it in our food.
Not enough. Not enough.
Okay.
So that's my message. Get the humic and fulvic back into your diet. Get more organic into your diet. Buy organic food and get the superfood blends that we have to help you restore some of the mineral densities that you require.
Cool. All right. So I think that's a good time to wrap up.
All right. Somebody just popped up and says, good movie to watch is The C Word. I just don't know which that is. We'll just put it out here. Anybody who's hearing it, you can search and see what happens. The C Word. All right. I'm all talked out for the day.
All right. Well, thanks for watching, everybody. This has been the Life Enthusiast online radio and TV Blab Network, restoring vitality to you and the planet. Martin, before we go, if somebody wants to know more about, making these lifestyle changes, how can they get a hold of you?
There is the website with a lot of very useful articles, life-enthusiast.com. And if you want to talk to me, find me at 1-866-543-3388. We're there from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Pacific time.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll see you next time. This is the Life Enthusiast Blab, restoring vitality to you and the planet, coming to you from Belize and Canada. Bye-bye.
Take care.